Today we're starting our new unit on decimal operations, and today is the first day. So today we're going to talk about rounding. So rounding is reducing the digits in a number while trying to keep its value similar. When rounding a number, it is important to look at place value. And we talked about place value a little bit last unit. So here's a little chart for you. We have the thousands, the hundreds, the tens, the ones, and that's stuff that we've talked about a lot in elementary school. The and is the decimal point. Then this is the stuff we're starting to look at now, so that tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths. And I like to use this little trick, so your teacher may or may not have taught this to you. I like to take a vertical line and I draw it through the decimal point. And the place right in front of the decimal point is the ones place. And then the place right behind, if I put a little zero underneath whatever digit is here, is in the tenths place. And if I put a little zero here, that is in the hundredths place. And if I put a little zero here under this digit, it would be in the thousandths place. So looking at a little example of that, if you had 3.125, if I wanted to find the place value of, say, the 2, I could draw a line down through my decimal point, and real tiny underneath, I'm going to put a 1 right in front for the ones place, and then I'm going to put zeros real tiny underneath. So the 2 is in the hundredths place. And that's just a little reminder from what we did last unit. Now, if we look down below at the next part of that page, it says, what are the steps for rounding decimals? So you underline the digit that is in the last place you're going to keep. Look at the number that is behind that digit. Now this is our rules. 4 or below, let it go. So leave the underlined digit alone. We're not going to do any rounding with that digit. 5 or above, give it a shove. So we're going to increase the underlined digit by 1 if the number behind is 5 or greater. Then we're going to cut off the remaining digits following the underlined number. So if we look at this example, to the tenths place, the 1 is in the tenths place. So we're going to look behind at the 4. Does the 4 round the 1 up? Well, 4 or below, let it go. So I don't need this anymore because the 4 and the 5, the 4 is too small, so I'm cutting off the rest. So it is just 3.1. So we're going to keep the number. Now, if we look here, if we round to the hundredths place, which the 4 is in the hundredths place, I look behind at the 5 is 5 or above, so I have to give the 4 a shove, and it becomes a 5, and then I get rid of the 5 that's behind. So I'm going to round that up. So let's do some practice with that. So if we do the first one, and we round to the tenths place, the 4 right here is in the tenths place. If I look behind, the 4 is another 4. 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. Well, it's a 4, so I'm going to let it go, so I don't need any of this anymore, and my answer is just 7.4. If I look at this one here, number 2, this is money, and I'm rounding to the ones place. The ones place is right here. And if I look behind, the 6 is 5 or above, give it a shove. So I'm giving the 5 a shove, and it becomes a 6, and it would be $6, and I'm going to cut off the 68 cents. Now, you can also think of it, 68 cents is above 50 cents, and 50 cents is halfway to $1, so I'm more than halfway, so I have to round up to 6. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video right here, and I want you to try number 3, 4, 5, and 6. When you are done with those, I want you to unpause the video, and I'll walk through them with you. Okay, let's look at number 3. So number 3, we want to round to the hundredths place. If you have trouble remembering, you can do my little cheater trick. So you draw a line down through the decimal point, put a 1 under the ones place, and zeros under each digit until you get to 100. So that is the hundredths place. That means that the 9 right here is in the hundredths place. Now if I look behind, this one was a little tricky. The 9 here is 5 or above, give it a shove. So I'm going to shove the 9, but sometimes it's a little bit easier to look at this as 49 instead of just 9, or you could just look at it as just 9. Either one is fine. If I raise 9, I'm going to raise it to 10. So that's going to give me a 0, and then I have to give the 1s right here to that 4. So 4 plus 1 is 5. And then I hack off the rest. That's why sometimes it's a little bit easier to look at it as 49, because if I raise 49, I raise it to 50. And you have to keep that 0 there because I rounded to the hundredths. This one I'm rounding to the tens. This is the ones. This is the tens place right here with the 6. The 7, I'm going to look behind. The 7 is 5 or above, so I'm going to give the 6 a shove. So the 6 is going to become a 7. The 5 and the 1. Now this one's tricky because I can't just hack off that 7. I have to leave it as a 0 because it's in front of the decimal point. But I can hack off the rest of this. I don't need it. This one here, I'm rounding it to the nearest dollar. Well, here's the dollars that I have here, $67. Now I have these 73 cents. So I'm going to look behind. The 7 back here is 5 or above, so I'm going to give the 7 a shove, so it's become $68 instead of 67. And then this one here, I'm going to the thousandths place. So the thousandths place is here with the 3, and if you don't remember, you can do the little trick, draw the line through the decimal point, 1 in the ones place, do some little zeros underneath. So the 3 is in the thousandths place, or I'm sorry, thousandths place. I look behind, I have a 0. The 0 is 4 below, let it go. So I'm going to cut off it with 3, and then I have 9.563 as my final answer for that one.